It begins not with a scream, but with a quiet, fizzing sound, a subtle warning that something is about to vanish. In the dim light of a forgotten laboratory, the air is thick with the scent of chemicals and secrets. Here, the ordinary becomes sinister, and the silence is heavy with intent. A lady's gold watch, once a cherished keepsake, is dropped into a drum of thick yellow acid. The moment it hits the surface, time itself seems to pause, suspended in the sickly glow of the laboratory. Bubbles rise as the leather strap dissolves, the metal face blurs and the hands melt away. The acid hungrily devours every detail, erasing memories and identity with each hiss and pop. The glass cracks, the gold turns brown, and soon nothing remains but sludge. What was once precious is now unrecognizable, lost to a chemical abyss. This is destruction by erasure, silent, patient and total. There is no violence, no chaos, only the slow, methodical undoing of existence. John George Haig believed he'd found the perfect crime. In his mind, the absence of a body meant the absence of guilt. He knew the law needed a body to prove murder. Without remains, there could be no case, no justice, no closure for the families left behind. So he set out to remove every trace, no bones, no teeth, no evidence. Each victim was reduced to nothing, their stories dissolved alongside their bodies. The vat of acid was his tool, his silent accomplice. It did not question, it did not hesitate, it simply erased. For Haig, it wasn't just disposal, it was power. The ability to make someone disappear completely was intoxicating, a dark mastery over life and death. He could make a person vanish, leaving only a void. The world would keep turning, unaware that someone had been erased from it entirely. The bubbling drum was his gateway to control. Each victim fed his delusion of invincibility, his belief that he could outsmart everyone. He believed he was smarter than the police, convinced his method was flawless. In his arrogance, he saw himself as untouchable, a master of science and secrecy. In his mind, science had solved the problem of murder, leaving only silence and a lingering, acrid smell. But even the most perfect crime leaves a trace, if you know where to look. John Haig's story unfolds in post-war London, a city shrouded in gloom and uncertainty. Bomb sites scar the streets and people are used to loved ones vanishing. In this world, disappearances are common and suspicion is rare. Haig thrived in these shadows, blending in with his polished shoes and quiet respectability. He met victims in hotels and tea rooms, exploiting trust and anonymity. His workshop in Crawley was just another industrial building. No one looked twice. The city's darkness, both literal and psychological, was his perfect cover. In plain sight, he carried out his monstrous plans. John George Haig didn't look like a monster. He was dapper, well-spoken and utterly normal, his greatest weapon. He targeted wealthy, lonely individuals, posing as a successful businessman. Haig listened, sympathized and built trust, all while plotting their end. He saw people as resources, not humans, obstacles between him and their money. Forgery, fraud and murder were steps in his cold, calculated schemes. His victims were chosen for their wealth and vulnerability. Raised in a strict, self-righteous family, Haig believed the rules didn't apply to him. Charm was his key, acid the final lock. Haig's process was methodical and chilling. He gained control of his victims' finances with forged documents. Lured to his workshop, they were met with a revolver. No struggle, no noise. The body went into a steel drum, acid poured in. 2 days later, nothing remained but sludge. Haig went about his life as the acid worked, believing himself untouchable. He disposed of the remains behind his workshop, erasing all traces. He sold off possessions, moved money, and spread stories of sudden departures. For a time, his system worked. Victims vanished and no clues remained. It was murderer's business, perfected by science and arrogance. but perfection never lasts. For years, Haig baffled the police. His victims, like the McSwans, simply disappeared. No bodies, no evidence. Haig's lies about people fleeing the country were believable in wartime. Investigators found nothing, no weapons, no blood, no remains. The idea of dissolving bodies in acid was unthinkable. Families were left with only questions and pain. The police had paperwork and suspicions, but no proof. Haig, a known fraudster, always had a plausible story. Without evidence, the law was powerless. Haig exploited this loophole, moving through the system like a ghost. He left behind only other ghosts, his victims erased. The perfect crime seemed unbreakable. Haig's downfall began with Olive Durand-Deacon's disappearance in 1949. She was well known, and her absence was noticed immediately. Her friend Constance Lane refused to accept Haig's explanations. Lane insisted Haig accompany her to the police, putting him directly in their sights. Haig played the concerned friend, but his criminal record raised suspicions. Police dug into his background, and his world began to unravel. They discovered he'd sold Mrs. Durand-Deacon's jewelry days after she vanished. Suddenly, this was no longer a missing person, it was murder. Haig had underestimated a friend's concern and overestimated his own control. Police descended on Haig's workshop, their flashlights cutting through the gloom as they searched for anything out of place. The air was thick with anticipation and dread, every shadow a potential clue. They combed through the cluttered benches and shelves, determined to uncover the truth behind the disappearances. Among the scattered items, they discovered a dry cleaning receipt for Mrs. Durand-Deacon's coat, an item she was last seen wearing. Alongside it lay a revolver, cold and ominous, and documents that hinted at connections to other missing people. Each piece of evidence deepened the mystery and heightened the investigators' suspicions. Forensic pathologist Dr. Keith Simpson was called to the scene. He meticulously examined the sludge and disturbed earth outside the workshop, searching for any sign of human remains. The ground itself seemed to hold its breath, hiding secrets just beneath the surface. In the laboratory, Dr. Simpson sifted through the acidic residue left behind by Haig's gruesome experiments. He carefully separated the murky liquid and gritty sediment, hoping to find even the smallest trace of a victim. The process was painstaking, requiring patience and a steady hand. Against all odds, he uncovered a small gallstone, miraculously undissolved by the acid. This tiny object, overlooked by Haig, became a crucial piece of evidence, a silent witness to the crime. Then, a false denture emerged from the residue. It was soon identified by Mrs. Durand-Deacon's dentist, confirming the victim's fate beyond any doubt. The evidence was mounting, and the case was rapidly unraveling. The case broke open. The police now had undeniable proof that a body had been destroyed in Haig's workshop. The investigation shifted from suspicion to certainty. More chilling evidence followed: body fat, a handbag handle, and even a preserved human foot. Each new discovery painted a clearer, more horrifying picture of what had happened. The very science Haig believed would erase his crimes instead exposed them. The forensic techniques of the era, though primitive by today's standards, proved powerful enough to unravel his carefully constructed plan. The so-called perfect crime was shattered by a gallstone and a set of false teeth, small, ordinary objects that became the keys to justice. The trail of nothing had led to something truly horrifying. Haig's secret was out, and the world would never forget the chilling evidence that brought him down. Confronted with mounting evidence, Haig's carefully constructed mask finally slipped, revealing the chilling truth beneath his calm exterior. The police had cornered him, and there was nowhere left to hide. He confessed, not with a hint of remorse, but with a disturbing sense of pride, as if recounting a twisted accomplishment rather than a series of horrific crimes. "Mrs. Durand-Deacon no longer exists. I destroyed her with acid," he declared, his words cold and matter-of-fact, sending a chill through the room. Haig boasted of 6 murders, convinced that without physical bodies, the law could never truly touch him. He believed he had found the perfect loophole, a way to outsmart justice itself. In a desperate attempt to escape punishment, Haig tried to plead insanity, spinning wild tales of blood-drinking, haunting nightmares and bizarre compulsions, hoping to convince the court he was not responsible for his actions. But it was a transparent ploy, a last-ditch effort to avoid the gallows that awaited him. The authorities saw through his act. His trial became a national sensation, drawing crowds and headlines. The prosecution methodically dismantled his insanity defense, exposing the calculated nature of his crimes. Forensic evidence, gallstones, dentures, a woman's handbag, survived the acid and proved his guilt beyond any doubt, leaving the jury with little room for uncertainty. The jury saw through his performance. They recognized Haig for what he truly was, a cold, calculating and entirely sane killer. It took them just 17 minutes to reach a verdict. The decision was swift, unanimous and final. The judge, unwavering, sentenced Haig to death, sealing his fate in the eyes of the law and the public. Even as the sentence was read, Haig remained eerily calm, his final con exposed and utterly failed. There was no escape left. The man who once believed himself untouchable above the law was now condemned by it, his last act, a performance that could fool no one. On August 10th, 1949, John George Haig was hanged at Wandsworth Prison. The man who believed he could not be convicted without a body met his end. His execution brought relief to a nation horrified by his crimes. Haig's case changed British law, proving murder could be convicted without a body. He strengthened the very system he tried to outsmart. Haig's story is a chilling reminder. Evil can hide behind the most ordinary face. The image of the acid vat remains a symbol of calculated horror. In the end, even the smallest trace was enough to bring a monster to justice.